And our first pitchee is Jerome Leray from InFarm. Take it away.
Farmers are wasting hundreds of thousands of dollars every year on herbicide by spraying areas of their paddock they don't need. What we do is use our drone-to-tractor technology to define the zones that actually need to spray. In fact, we can save farmers up to 80% of their fallow weed herbicide costs and turn their everyday spraying boom into a weed targeting machine. So what are fallow weeds? Fallow weeds are unwanted plants that grow in the fallow ground. They absorb essential soil nutrients and moisture that would otherwise be available for the crops. The average Australian farmer can spend around about $30 a hectare per spray on herbicide alone, and will spray anywhere between 2 to 5 times a year for fallow weeds. So let me walk you through our process. First, we use drones to collect high-definition images of the paddock. We then upload these images into our processing platform, where our unique weed identifying algorithm is applied. The result is a tractor-ready weed file, which can be uploaded into your standard variable rate tractor via USB. Our data controls the nozzles and turns them on and off depending on the presence of weeds. In this image, it has been taken from our platform. You can see that the weeds have been highlighted in blue. You can also identify the fact that they only represent a small minority of the paddock, and you can imagine the savings that farmers can make. Whilst our weed detecting algorithm is amazing, it is only the beginning of our vision. What we want to do is develop a global service network around this product. Once established, this network will allow us to integrate new services and increase the service options we can provide farmers. To build this service network, our market plan is to team up with well-established agricultural service businesses, such as agronomists and spraying contractors. There's a clear two-way benefit in doing so. Firstly, we get access to their client bases, and they get to generate new income streams by becoming our data acquisition partners. That means they fly and we process. In the beginning, we're going to have a soft launch in Gundawindi using our local contacts, and then we'll look at scaling nationally and then internationally afterwards. Our business at its core is a SaaS product with a service network attached. Our customers are broadacre farmers and will be charged based on 2 components. The data acquisition, which will be charged at $1 a hectare plus travel, and is payable to our data acquisition partners. And the second component is data processing, which will be $1 a hectare plus a $30 booking fee, and that will be payable to us. The combination of the booking, data collection, data processing, and the delivery of the results into the one platform is what creates our complete service network. Now, we aren't the first team to try and solve the fallow weed solution. The Green Seeker and the Weed It are camera-mounted systems that sit on the boom, identify what is green, and spray. They're expensive, between $200,000 and $350,000, and can only be used during the fallow season. Our second group of competitors are those in the image processing space. These are providing maps which can be used as proxies for plant health. However, in their raw format, little can be actioned from them, as they need further data interpretation to obtain something useful. Our competitive advantage is not only that we are more cost effective, that we can be used all year round, but that we are providing a true drone to tractor solution. We have a fantastic team. I'm the founder of Western Aerial Mapping, a rural UAV service provider. Identified the need for this complete drone to tractor ag solution, and have been responsible for the development of everything in this business except the actual weed identifying algorithm. That's where my partner, Dr. Mehdi Ravenbakash expertise comes in. He's a geospatial and computer vision associate professor and leading expert in his field. We're aware that we're also going to need to include other positions such as software engineers and data scientists, and we'll look to plug those holes once we've raised capital. In our business, hectares drive sales. Focusing on the number of hectares flown rather than the amount of clients we have is the most important sales metric. We expect to fly 150,000 hectares in the first 12 months, and believe this is realistic, as farmers in Gundawindi can have farms of up to 70,000 hectares. Now, if we achieve our 12 months objectives, we'll have a revenue of roughly $400,000 at a 50% gross profit. We're looking to raise $750,000 to bring this platform to market, and the funding will be used for the soft launch, hiring, and to start the national scaling process. It'll also give us 18 months operational runway until we can generate free cash flow. Our vision is to build the biggest agricultural service platform in the world, and it all begins with delivering our drone-to-tractor fallow weed solution. I'm Jerome Leray. Come talk to me about the future of ag.
Thanks, Jerome. We've got a question here. What is the accuracy of the platform? What's the likelihood of false positives and negatives?
Yep. So we've been going through that, and we're getting about a 90% accuracy. Now, with the algorithm that we're actually using artificial intelligence and deep learning. So the more data that we're actually getting, the more accurate our data platform is getting. And we've even started to play around with identifying individual weed species, and we've done a fair bit in this space with identifying skeleton weeds, identifying tussock and hassock grasses in wild environments. So as we get more data, it becomes more accurate, and we're sitting around about the 90% range at the moment.
Okay, over to the panel.
I'm really excited about this as a former agronomist and someone who's been really keen on selective weed spraying for a long time. If we were the voice blind additions, I would have turned around really quickly.
Thanks.
I've been trying to find a spot to use that gag all day. My question, though, is again about scale and the mechanisms of when you've got thousands of drones flying around and when you're conquering the world. I'll go back to one of the questions from earlier, is what can go wrong and how are you going to fix it?
So I suppose I look at business in a bit of a different way. I look at it as a series of unanswered questions, and I think the question that you're asking there is, how do we use the drone technology to cover the hectares? And putting them into the hands of the actual agronomists and the other agricultural service businesses is how I think that's going to be scalable, because it's generating more incomes. They already have the client base. They're already visiting the farmer, and to give the actual prescription and what herbicides they should be using. We're just tagging on that extra value add that they can provide to their farmer and generate revenue. So in terms of that scalability issue, that's integrating with the existing platforms, if that makes sense, the existing services.
Yeah, look, that was fabulous. I thought using the agronomers as a channel and distribution mechanism, and also I think you've got in there, I thought I saw a revenue share as well, to incentivise agronomists to provide support and pilot the drones and so on. I think that's a fabulous idea, and something we haven't seen so far, I think, in terms of actually thinking through the logistics of the deployment and the scalability of it. I just had a more question around, so in your matrix there you had yourself positioned only on farrow weed, so do you have plans to, because I know image processing and image analytics now is sophisticated enough to be able to identify many different types of weeds or plants. Is that where you're going? And I guess the related question is and it's again coming back to interoperability and connectivity with different types of tractors. I mean, have you thought through that?
Yeah. So right now, a lot of the major producers, the major manufacturing firms, John Deere, Case, New Holland, most of them have their variable rate technology, and the ability to generate and integrate into those is something that's pretty, not simple, but can be done. These guys are using variable rate fertiliser, and it's basically hijacking that system and now using it to do targeted weed prescriptions is essentially what we're doing. And the other part of the question
was about plant specificity, yeah.
So one of the projects that we've just done, I'm actually talking to JCU at the moment, we're looking to finish an application to do weed species identification and then to be able to provide the actual spraying via an aerial platform for resistant weeds. So we could identify the species of the resistant weeds and then go and, using a drone, go and actually spray those areas. And they're the types of things that we'd like to integrate into our platform. So I suppose, yes, we are going down that way, but I can't stand behind the lectern and tell a farmer I can go and identify all your resistant radish or all your radish.
No, I think it's a good start. The question was, where are you going?
Yeah, and there's that, and then there's all the other things that you can do with drones. I think there's a lot of hype that's been, I suppose, projected about the drone world, and I think they're shooting themselves in the foot because farmers don't forget. So.
Yeah, let me build on that, and it was a good pitch. Thank you. I got the business model, the SaaS model, and you're a drone to tractor service who doesn't own the drone or the tractor. I like that. That's good. I do, seriously like that. But that begs the question of what your intellectual property is or what it is that is the core. You were giving me a lot of insight with that last answer, but in your words, what do you think is the core thing that you own and control that will grow with this business?
So essentially, in the image processing space, there's other guys that could potentially provide, the data analysis, and there's already people that do, not specifically for fallow weeds, but by building that service network and I suppose getting into those client bases, we're already kind of defending ourselves against potential other people. They would basically have to replicate our model to do it. So our defensibility around the IP is actually in the commercialisation of the service network and the actual analysis that we're doing.
Yeah, I've got a quick comment. I had some comments in the lunch break that people quite liked their commentary, so I just wanted to pass on. Would have liked to have known what your total addressable market is, your TAM.
1.5 billion hectares worldwide.
Right, okay. And I suppose, for the record on that, I suppose best practice, the above top-down TAM is generally frowned down upon in the investor market because can you actually capture all of that very, very quickly? So what we look for is what's your distribution points? How many agronomists have you got? How many of them are actually, have you validated that are going to pick up your product and use? How many hectares do they run? And what does that look like in year 1, year 2, year 3, and how that scales up your revenue, because that's actually the way that you'll be obtaining market share. So that's the kind of TAM that we'd be after. So that's one point I'd quickly make.
I can answer those questions if you want.
No, it's great. It just would have been good to, I suppose, have seen it up there because if I was an investor, I want to know how big the market is. So how big is this baby going to be? One other quick thing, the 750K, what's the percentage of the business for that?
So we're looking at around about 20%.
Okay. And I suppose my final question is, I noticed on that, what about satellites? Because there's about 21 algorithms a good agricultural drone can do. And I know of some satellite companies now in the AgTech space that have got about 16, 17 algorithms, so they're chasing the drone market down. And of course, the good thing is I don't have to get out of bed to read satellite data. So I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
So when you're looking at fallow weeds, how small do you want to identify them? And when you're looking at a weed that's about 2 centimetres by 2 centimetres, satellites can't pick it up unless, we're using top military stuff. And even the military stuff is probably looking at around about the 10 centimetre ground sample distance. So the reality is that they are not going to be able to identify anything that's underneath 10 centimetres. And once it's got to 10 centimetres, it's already a problem. So we can target weeds that are a lot smaller than that. And that's why we think that in the fallow weed space, we can actually deliver that and satellites can't.
Thank you very much, Jerome. Well done. Next up,